Okay, great. So once again, welcome everyone to Sunday evening's TDS session. And today we'll just generally be discussing any doubts you have with regards to week 5 and go over some of the items that we hadn't discussed in detail that were left over from last week. So with regards to just so for the people that have just joined, in week grade assignment 5, um, questions like question 5 and question 5, where you're supposed to find out how many values are greater than this given number. Sometimes you may find that your answers doesn't quite match up with any of the options. The reason for that is because the vector representations for these words have been slightly changed by OpenAI, and so you might find that your answers don't match. It affects a small subset of students, but most students should get the correct answer. They've already informed operations, and they will um, get back to me on whether they'll update a new set or whether they'll just not mark this question. Okay, I don't have an answer yet to that, so I can't really say what will happen. With regards to question 6, just select the answer that's closest to these options. So find the absolute, the difference between your answer and the absolute value. Basically find the absolute value difference between your answer and the options here. And the one that is the smallest, if you select that one, that will be the correct answer. Okay? So it doesn't affect you there. If there are any other issues, just post on Discourse. We'll make a note of it, validate it, and see if there are any issues. Okay. Any other questions with regard to GA5?
You were discussing regarding question 5. I've just joined late little. Could you just repeat once again?
So question 5, some students will not get the answers matching this. It affects a small set of students. And the
Yeah,
reason
it
for that
happened
is,
for me also. That is why I'm asking actually.
okay, so the reason is because OpenAI has manipulated some of the vector of some of the tokens that they have in their um, model. Okay, so when they've changed the values, they don't necessarily tell others, right? So they haven't told us we are changing the values. So between this assignment being generated with these answers and you getting the assignment, some tweaks have happened. So because we're dealing with very, very small values, um, a few students will find that their answer will deviate from these options that we're given. So it affects a small subset of students. With regards to what we are going to do about it, I'm still waiting to hear from operations about it. Okay.
Okay, but the answer is very close to one of these options actually. Whatever I'm getting.
Yes, yeah. So, but I can't give you an official answer because I haven't heard
Mm.
back from them about it.
Fine.
But that's what's happening, and it
The
also
same is with
affects.
question 6 also. Yeah.
Yeah, it affects everyone on question 6 because here you're dealing with cosine similarity, so it will affect every single student because we are talking about very small values. But here, the correct answer is, say for example, you get 38922. Okay, it's not an option here, but that's the closest answer to this option, right? Select the option that is closest to the answer you find,
Yeah.
and it will be the correct answer. And we have validated that for every student's question. So whichever parameterized question you got, if you select the option that's closest to the answer that you've got, it will be the correct answer.
Yeah.
That's it concerning G. Any other questions concerning GFI? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Um, one second, is this on? Yes. Okay. Right. So last time we covered, if I remember correctly. So last time we covered sentiment analysis, LLM extraction. We didn't do vision models. On top Topic modeling we did not do, which has to do with embeddings.
Carlton, just one
Yep,
question. Okay.
sure.
In the website, it's shown 1 p.m. to 1:45, but in your latest discourse post, it's shown to be determined. So is the duration not fixed?
Yeah, we don't know the duration yet. That is not fixed. That's
So
why
will it increase or will it decrease? I don't think
I
we can do
can't
anything.
really. I don't know. I won't know the answer until I know the answer.
Right. So how
it,
do
it,
we prepare
it,
ourselves?
yeah, so it changes every term. That's the thing. That's the
Oh,
best answer I
okay.
can give. Every term, students ask the same question, but the reality is it changes every term. So we're talking about
And
yes,
it's not MCQ. It's
no
okay.
MCQ, not
Project
MSQ.
one. It's written same format as project one. So will we see if it's correct or not?
I don't know. But what I do know is you will have to enter the answers into a text field, just like project one.
Okay. So
Okay.
it's just filling in, but we might not know if it's right or not. Like the
I
correct answer.
don't,
This is the correct answer. That won't come.
I don't know because the reason I'm saying I don't know is I haven't seen the latest ROE, so I don't know what it will have. What has happened in the past is the last term's ROE had MCQs. So you could guess. And there was a big debate in the team about whether we should allow that or not. And we had a debate with operations about it, and they had their say on it as well. And we ended up doing an MCQ, but we felt in the end that it wasn't a fair reflection of students' capabilities. So we decided to scrap it. And the terms before that, none of them ever had MCQ. So last term was the first time we had an MCQ style project ROE, but we have decided to go back to the previous way of doing things, which is you enter the answers in, because that's the fairest way to evaluate students whether they have actually done it without guessing or not.
Right. Got it. Thank you.
The ideal way to prepare for ROE is to work on all the PYQs.
I mean, the ideal way.
No, not the ideal way.
the,
Sorry.
the
One of the smart ways to prepare.
So the thing is, yeah, one of the ways you could prepare is
Practice.
to look
We
at
could practice.
past, yeah, past ROEs are good way to get a sense of what it's like. Go in cold. That's my advice. And so, like for example, if you look at last term's ROE, there were two ROEs actually last term. So if you choose any one of those and you go in cold, you put a timer and say, right, I'm going to pretend this is a real ROE and just try it, right? That itself should be enough to give you a very realistic feel of what it's like. Of course, the one difference is there are no marks at stake, so you won't have that same pressure. Okay, that when you add the pressure of marks, right? Suddenly, yeah, a lot of things go wrong. So sometimes you can do things when you're not under that pressure. So the but that's the closest feel you will get to it. Try past ROEs.
Okay.
And each ROE, if you've noticed, is very different from the previous one.
And
And the challenges are completely very different.
modules, week 6 is also included.
Yeah, so this is the our first time since TDS has started that we have 1 to 6. Normally every term it's 1 to 4, but this time Professor Anand decided to have week 1 to 6 for ROE. Mainly because he feels that LLMs are quite an important part of TDS nowadays, so he wants to incorporate that into it as well.
But LLM is week 5.
Yeah, so it's week 1 to 6, right? So that includes week 5. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, and 5 and 6. Okay. Any other questions?
Would you please discuss on this last PYQ? I mean, ROE. What happened? How to go about that? You have 20 files and
Yeah.
compile that and
So
get this.
So I think what will happen is with regards to the trying out the ROEs itself, Prasanna sir, I think will take those. He will work out. If you ask him, he will work those out with you.
One was done in the last session,
Okay, yeah.
but
So
he just explained how to go about it. Like, we didn't really do anything like coding or nothing was done. He was
right,
explaining how to go, how he just gave a gist of it, to be honest. But that
okay,
alone isn't sufficient.
right, right.
When
I
was that?
mean,
I'm not very sure. You'll have to check in the playlist.
yeah, I don't know if all instructor sessions are uploaded, but whichever ones are recorded that he has uploaded, you can have a look if it's available. Typically, what we do in our sessions is we don't do ROEs. We teach you the all the things you, or rather, we explain to you all the things you would need in order to be able to do them. But if we've got time, we can try an ROE maybe, but no promises. Normally, TAs don't do ROE, direct ROE prep, as in we don't take an ROE and try it out. You can perhaps check out previous term sessions, but again, I don't think we did any ROE specifically. We basically covered the material you need to know in order to do ROE.
So could we keep a practice session on 40, like the next class? Can we devote it for ROE?
Uh,
We have a session on Thursday before ROE.
14th, yeah.
It would help us, like, how to think. And it's just I'm honestly blank right now about it.
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you what we've done in the past. Okay, so in the past, we've taken extra sessions, and those sessions will cover all the skills required rather than doing an ROE. The reason I say that is if we just did an ROE, it will train you how to do that ROE, right? But it won't give you the general skills required to try do any ROE. So that's why we typically don't do it. It's in fact, this is the first term that I know of, or there maybe last term they might have done it, but where the instructors decided to do one or two ROE, previous terms ROEs. But prior to that, we generally never used to do ROE, previous terms ROEs, because the challenges are completely different each term. I don't know how many of you have looked at previous terms ROEs, but if you notice, each term the challenge is completely different. If you looked at last term's ROE, there was SQL involved in that, right? If you looked at the ones previous to that, there was no SQL involved in that. So it's very varied, is what I can say. So
Is the skill set finite? Like, is
yeah,
it finite?
the skill set is finite. But that's why we tend to focus on just giving you an overview of all the skills you need, rather than teaching you how to deal with one specific ROE.
Where can
Okay,
I, like, go?
what we'll do is I'll talk to Jivraj. We'll see if we can come up with a session where we can mm, demonstrate all the skills you require or not. We'll think of something and see what we can do. Okay.
Okay, so I hope it's like, we get at least some days before the ROE after we get the
Yeah.
skill session.
Again, the best advice I can give you if you want ROE practice is to just do a previous term ROE, right? That's the best advice.
But again, it will be like really different. So you said SQL was there last term, but it might not be
Yeah.
there. So how
Yeah, but
does...
I can't predict, right? I myself have not seen this term's ROE. So if I have not seen it, how can I tell you what's
No, I
there?
don't want the exact answers of the questions. I just want a brief overview of like what all one is expected to cover, or
Maybe
at
a
Week,
least...
checklist of
yeah,
Yeah, that would help.
the skill set.
yeah, it's week 1 to 6. That's the
That is
checklist.
not a
I
checklist.
mean, even if you consider week 1 to 6, there's no SQL in it.
Yeah, there is definitely.
You mean
One,
the
one,
first?
100% there is SQL.
You mean the
100%.
first week?
Week 2, I think.
Week 2 or 3.
Yeah, week 2 or week 3. One of those weeks there's SQL.
Okay.
100%. You will have database connectivity and you will have
Okay.
SQL, basic SQL you'll need to know.
So SQL could be a possibility. I'm writing that down.
Yeah, of course. You can write it down because it's in week 1 to 6. If you want a
Okay.
checklist, it's week 1 to 6. But this is why I say when we've had sessions in the past, what we do is we tell you, we actually do this checklisting thing in a sense. What we do is we go through the weeks and tell you, you need this for ROE, you don't need this for ROE. You need this for ROE, you don't need this for ROE. So that's kind of what we do when we prep you for
So
ROE.
when can we expect that session?
It'll be this week sometime.
All right.
We'll send a message out and because we have to look at our schedule as well and come up with a plan for this week. So it'll be this week sometime, and we'll record all the sessions anyway.
All right, sir. Thank you.
Okay. But with regards to doing an ROE, I would suggest you do that on your own because there's no much use from us doing it for you. You can look at the ROEs, try and solve them. If you can't solve them in 45 minutes, 1 hour, then you know that okay, you need to work on those skills. The one thing I will say is all the ROEs are solvable if you've got time. So if you've got a whole day to do it, then it's 100% solvable. They're not difficult. The key challenge with ROE is not that they are difficult. The key challenge with ROE is there are a lot of questions and very little time. So speed is the key, and the only way you'll be fast is if you have a good intuition of what tools to use and how to use them appropriately and quickly. So even if you're using something like GPT, there are a lot of students. In fact, I think almost everyone uses GPT last term, but still, even the ones who used all GPT for everything, still they could only get like 4 out of 8 questions correct. And part of the reason is they don't have intuition about simple things. Okay, so they're relying, so they have to type it into GPT. That takes time. GPT has to answer. They have to debug the GPT. But whereas if you already knew how to do something, right, you don't need GPT at all, right? You would only use the GPT to do what? You would use it to reference something you don't know, or to correct some small minor bug, or you would debug its output yourself, and you would be way faster than someone who doesn't know anything and just uses GPT for everything. So that's the key difference. That's why we keep saying practice, right? Try scraping something, try to understand the underlying technologies, try to understand how it works, try to understand how web pages are constructed, try to understand how you extract stuff from them, try to see how you can join tables, how you can read from tables, be familiar with most of the pandas, routines, and basic functions of filtering, cleaning up data. If you know these things already, you don't have to put it into GPT to find the answer. These things you can do very quickly by yourself. The only thing you would need GPT for then is something, if there was something particularly unusual that you want to, or you've forgotten something, like, oh, I don't remember what the option is for this command or whatever like that, right? Then you can use GPT. Then it works perfectly. Then you are working with the GPT and your productivity is super fast. But you need the underlying intuition to get that. I know this is slightly deviating off track, but I'll tell you a real world example. Okay, so this was just ROE, right? We're talking about. So I know one of the top principal scientists working here at the IIT Research Park. Okay, and when speaking to him, he said, he's interviewed a lot of people from the data science program. Okay, and he doesn't know much about machine learning, but they want to use it in. They want to use machine learning and AI for the things that their domain that they're working on, and that's why they were looking to build an AI team. So when he interviews people from the data science program, he said they know a lot of jargon. Okay, they know a lot of big words, and they know a lot of stuff. Okay, but he said the biggest problem. So he interviewed like 20 of the people. Okay, from the data science program. But he said the biggest problem is they don't have intuition. When you ask them something, and you ask them how do you solve this problem, and he says to them, you can use GPT, go ahead and use GPT if you want to try and solve it. They'll try and solve it in GPT, but they have no intuition. They can't think for themselves. They don't know how to solve something, they just regurgitate what GPT regurgitates, and that doesn't help them solve the problem. See, GPT is great as a tool, but like any tool, for it to be effective, you have to be a master craftsman, and you have to realize that GPT is just a productivity enhancement. It's not going to replace a person for this very reason, because it can't think. So over reliance on GPT is not going to help you. But deeply understanding your tools, deeply understanding what's happening, deeply understanding how things work together, these things will make you a master. And then you will use GPT effectively. You will use GPT more effectively than the person who doesn't master the tools and who just uses GPT as a black box. Right? So this is a real world uh, example I've just given you. So this is why I keep saying right from the very beginning of the course, practice the skills. They will really help you, and they are valuable in the real world. And GPT is part of the toolkit, but you should not be a crutch. If it's a crutch, then you will not get very far. Hope that was useful. Don't want to sound like a what you call like
One thing, Kanran,
yeah.
this was good. Actually, I was wondering, like last ROE, they had given some 20 files, and
Yes,
you need to get the data from them. Okay.
correct. Yeah.
So in BAS, you can do it through concatenation. Get into all the data, get all the details in a single file.
Yes.
But if you have 20 files, you may have 50 files also. Is there any program like or not like program like coding or something like that, where you go through each file and get the data whatever is
Yeah,
there in a
I'm
single file
trying to
like that?
remember last ROE. So the 20 files, were they from were they scraped files, or were they,
XML
how were the
file.
files given? I don't remember, because I remember there was a scraping component, right? And then a file set gets produced, and then there was I think there was a database that was given, um,
My
and
question is
events.
basically if there is a folder, say there are say 10, 100 files or 200 files,
Sure, sure.
and I want to have all the data in a single file from all
Yeah.
these 20 files or 50 files.
So what
So
you
is
do
there
is
anything
then
can be
in,
done? Yeah.
yeah, in Python you can run a for loop, right? That can just open the files one by one.
Okay. And for each file, you will get the data in a single
Yeah,
file.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Because all you would have to do is read the data out of each file in the for loop, and mm, then you just kind of what do you call for it? Join all the data that you get into a pandas data
Okay.
frame.
So you just have to read and add it. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. It's just a few lines of code in my when I think about it.
Okay.
The key thing there is you will have to use I think the library OS, because the OS will give you, that library will give you the commands to retrieve the file list, right? So when you get the file list names, then you just run the names through a for loop and use an open command, and then read the files out. That's how I would do it.
Okay.
But yeah, see, that's a good example of a skill set to have, because this is quite common this is a common theme in every ROE, lots of files, right? So practice that. Just get a whole bunch of files. In Linux you can do that. You can just say use the command touch, put curly braces. In fact, I can show you quickly. So you can do. I hope it's. Let me make it a bit bigger. So if you want some practice files, right, just say touch, do this A, and say for example F, right? I think you can do this. If you look here, see, it just created 6 files for me, right? Same way you can even do directories. So you do make directory, and say you want a directory named T1 5. So if you look now, Oh, I thought it made directories. Yes. So if you look, put it this way. So if you look now, you can see it made the directories T1, T2, 3, T4, T5, and these are the files it made: A, B, C, D, E, F. So now you can just practice using a bit of Python code, how to get all these, open these files one by one in a for loop. So learn the command for that. That's a good skill to have. It doesn't, once you know, then it's very quick for you to repeat that at any time. That's the other thing. We'll teach you while we are preparing you for ROE, not today, but sometime this week. We'll teach you some good things to do. One thing is have either a VS Code file or a notebook file or some file already with these snippets ready, key snippets. So they will have bits of code that do a certain function. So the one you mentioned is a good one, right? So bit of code that you've already pre-written. So okay, if I get a bunch of files, I need to put them all together. I can use this code. I don't have to put it in GPT or something. I can straight away use this code. I just modify it slightly and then use it. Keep snippets of code available because it's an open book, right? So just keep all the tools handy. That's what we do every term. When I was a student also, I did the same thing. All the various notebooks that are there in the, on your portal, I don't copy all this, okay? This is not useful to copy all this. What I do is I create my own notebook, and in that notebook, I use small, clear snippets that does exactly what I want. And I also do one more thing. I give it titles. So like, let's say, for example, I create a new notebook here. Um,
Sir said the data sets will also be available before the exam.
I cannot comment on that. I don't want to back that up because that may or may not be true. So I can't tell you for sure if that's true. Right. So what I do is I do things like this, right? So I'll say code for geolocation. Oops. Okay. And then um, next so I have a bit of that. Then I put whatever code I need to get from anywhere. So if, say, for example, if this was the bit of code that I needed, right? I just copy this cell and I put it in this, put notebook ready to use. So I collate everything from all the places that I need. Okay. And then I keep this in one single notebook that I need. And then when the exam comes, I got to solve a specific problem. I remember, okay, geolocation, what do I do? I just go here and collect this code and then use that for doing the work. So don't have hundreds of tabs open because it'll be difficult for you to find what you're looking for. But rather collate everything in a systematic way. And this is why we say create your own notebook. Because if you create the notebook, right, we found students who create their own notebook will be able to work much faster than if your friend created the notebook. So these are just all tips that we are giving you because every second counts in a ROE. So this is some of the tips that we will kind of share with you when we do the ROE prep session. Okay. In fact, one of the best
How
things
many
to do.
questions will be there, sir?
Sorry.
How many questions will be there?
It varies every term. So last
Up
term
to maximum.
there is no maximum. It's just it could be anything. I know it sounds like I'm not telling you the answer. The reason I'm saying that is last term there were 8. Okay, the term before that there were 20. Then the other
20.
term there was so it varies completely. It very much varies. I can't really give you a number because if as soon as I give you a number, it will be wrong.
Last time it was just 8 MCQs.
Yes.
Wow. Last term was
Something.
like the ideal, term to take TDS. I get. I think so. I
Yeah,
don't
but
know why.
the bell curve was still the same, which is everyone the highest, the most common score was 50%.
But
It is
generally,
totally
even
surprising.
Sorry.
It is totally surprising. We can't say that anything, sir.
I mean, even the
Yeah.
end term was MCQs, I guess, like all theory MCQs.
Yes. End term is generally very easy. So from whatever we have experienced so far, I think Anand wants to change that though this term. So he doesn't want it to be that simple, but he won't make it. It's very difficult to make it difficult. The end term, mainly because we can't really test you on anything practical. So I still think it will be easy, but it won't be as, let's be frank about it, as rubbish as it was last term. Don't expect last term's end term to be this term's end term. But apart from that, the previous end terms prior to the last one, that gives you a general idea of approximately what kind of difficulty you can expect with end term. End term is easy to score. Most of you should be able to score 90 or above in end term very easily. No difficulties there. And in fact, TDS will be the best one to answer first, because it will give you more time to answer other subjects that you have. Because it will be either you know it, so you take less than a second to answer the question, or you don't know it, and then in that case you just guess and move forward. So that's about end term. Right. Okay. So any other questions regarding?
There are no code-based questions in end term.
Not really. The only code-based question would be dealing with CSS selectors. That you might get.
Right.
There's a high probability of that, I would say. But that's not saying it will be there, but I would say there's a high probability. Maybe like at least a 80% chance of it being there. CSS selectors. That's the only sort of code-based kind of question you might get. They'll give you a little bit of a HTML snippet. They'll ask you which CSS selector you would use to get the answer. And if you followed my sessions on CSS selectors, then you should be able to do that very easily.
All right.
Okay. Right. Any other questions regarding ROE? We will do a more thorough examination of ROE prep. Okay. We will do an extra session. Don't worry. Or maybe even 2 extra sessions. We just have to
Isn't there GA6?
There will be. I'm not sure when it's coming out.
But week 7 has been uploaded without
Yes.
GA6.
Yeah. No. I'm not sure when that will.
Will we have it before ROE?
It's possible, but you will still get the same 10 days that they normally give for GAs.
Okay.
Yeah, they won't make it
Would
the
be great.
deadline shorter. Sorry?
It would be great if it is uploaded before ROE, because we will get some more questions to practice.
True. I'll put in a word and see if it can be uploaded soon. I think it is probably almost ready anyway. So our current focus at the moment in the back end is to validate the latest ROE. So in fact, the mail just came literally before the session started. So I didn't have a chance to look at the ROE myself, but we have to do some validation on it to get it ready for you guys by the end of this week. Okay. Right. So last, okay. Okay. So how many of you went through the notebooks that were there on the course portal with regards to topic modeling? Okay. Anyone that has any questions about what topic modeling is?
Not really. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So that's why I just wanted to just ask the question rather than bore you guys to death with going through it. I mean, it's not boring, mind you. It's quite all interesting as long as you know what's happening. Anybody has any questions about this? Okay. In that case, I'll just quickly fly through it. Okay. So basically, as I've mentioned before, words or tokens rather in LLMs are vectorized, and each vector has some weights. And effectively, I've shown you these constructs before, so this is pretty straightforward. If you look at my previous session, I've already explained how to construct these. And all that's happening is we are fetching the vectors by using embeddings, using this endpoint. We send it a bunch of words, and we're finding out what these vector representations are. Once we fetch back the vector representations, to find how similar one word is to another, we do a dot product or do a cosine similarity. By the way, this although this is not going to be a question they will ask you in N-term, but can anyone tell me what's the difference between dot product and a cosine similarity?
So dot product is the only number, and with the cosine, it is a direction, sir.
So yeah, one major difference is dot product. Yeah, you're right. But there is another major difference though. Can you tell me what that other major difference is?
Sir, a dot product is a scalar, and a cosine is a sir vector.
True, but there is another major difference. See, in this code, right, if you do cosine similarity, you'll still get a scalar number only, right? Where is it? I think it's somewhere down here. Did they do a cosine similarity? Okay, maybe they didn't do it here. But if you did a
It is
cosine
there in
similarity,
document. It is there in
sorry?
this file, but it is cosine similarity is there in this file, but little down.
Oh, okay, okay. Probably past this one, right? Ah, okay, yeah, here, right, somewhere down here.
Yes, here it is.
Yeah, here, yeah. So here also you will get a number only. Okay. So can you tell me what's the difference? It's a fairly important difference.
I have no idea, sir.
Okay. So when you get two vectors, what's the range of cosine similarity?
0 to 1.
-1 to
Okay.
1.
Okay. So then what's the range of dot products?
It could be any number.
Correct.
Yes.
Why is that?
Again, no idea.
Is it
Okay.
was cosine function?
Okay. So this is where I talk about knowledge versus
Normalized.
intuition, right? So this is a good example of it, right? So if you think about vectors, a dot product will give you something that is not normalized. In other words, the vector size will change what dot product you get. But a cosine similarity is normalized. So that's why you'll always get, like you said, a range from -1 to 1. Is it -1 to 1? I think it's 0
No,
to 1, right?
0 to 1, sir.
Yeah, 0 to 1. Yeah. So that's the main difference. And that's a big reason why when you're using cosine similarity, you're getting a normalized value. Whereas if you use a dot product, it will not give you a normalized value. Now here it did not make a difference. Can someone tell me why? Why with these vectors from OpenAI, it did not make a difference, dot product or cosine similarity? You will get the same answer with OpenAI, whether you use dot product or whether you use cosine similarity. Why is that?
Is it because embeddings also return the values between -1 to 1?
Yeah, so that's exactly right. It's because they have already normalized the vector before you do the dot product. So OpenAI's model, they already normalized the vector. So that's why you don't don't get a difference between the cosine similarity or the dot product. So just keep that in mind, okay? Because we are dealing with vectors, and you're trying to find out how similar something is to something else, right? So when we did dot product up here, they used OpenAI model, okay? But when they did it down here, they used a completely different model, right? They used what's it called? They used Alibaba NLP model, right? So I don't know how they store their vectors. In fact, you can see there are values that are not normalized in here. So that's why they used a cosine similarity over here. Because otherwise you would have no idea if something was close or not, because if they're not normalized, you can't really tell anything about it, right? So that's something to just sort of keep in the back of your mind. So this is what, maths 1, I think, or maths 2. Right. So that's all there is about to know about embeddings. Here, all they've done is they've just checked to see what's closest to which word. And you may think, well, what's the point of this? So at this moment, there seems to be no point of embeddings. But in the next notebook, which is this one, it will become very important. Okay. So what is retrieval augmented generation? Okay. Now, typically, so this is a big thing. Okay. They call it RAG. It is really, really a big thing. So let's say, for example, you have a law firm. Okay. And you want to use a GPT assistant to help you research cases. Okay. So you have this whole library of books and case studies, in fact, cases or whatever, and it fills up a whole huge room, and you're trying to develop a defense for your client or what have you, and it's a very time-consuming process to look up all these case files and things like that. It would be great if you had an AI assistant who already knows all the things in your library and can give you the answer straight away, right? So it's similar to having a search engine, but it's way better, right? Because with AI or with GPT or LLMs, you're able to use natural language and say, hey, this is the case. I want you to try and find something that will that had a similar thing, and I want you to find me cases that will help me to solve it, right? So produce a good defense. So can you identify those? You can ask things in a natural way, like a human would to another human expert. So one way you could think of it is, okay, well, we can just dump all the files into the LLM and send it to them, right? That's something that you may think about, right? But what's the disadvantage of doing that? Or what's the...
It would be way costlier.
Yeah. One thing is cost, that's true. But even if you did not have cost as a barrier, what is another problem with that?
Maybe time to process all these files.
Yeah. So sending the information, that's a huge part of it. You'll have to send all this huge volume of data to it. Thirdly, privacy is an issue. It's a very serious issue for companies dealing with private data. So a whole host of issues. And then, of course, you have what's called the context window. Okay. Each LLM has a limited context. So unlike the human brain, where we have all of our life experience in one place, and we are able to retrieve it, okay, admittedly not perfectly, but we're able to retrieve it at any given moment. An LLM has a limited what we call context window. In other words, it's only able to keep so much in its head about the conversation before it completely starts failing. Okay. And so that's what's called the context window. Here, so it says, they may have as large as 2 million tokens, but that sounds like a big number, but actually it's not. The reason being, tokens are not entire words. Something like a token could be something like wind and O's could be a token. Okay, so a single word may have more than one token. In fact, they say the average token is roughly 3/4 of a word. So even these punctuations and this full stop, if you write a sentence with a full stop, you will take one extra token just for the full stop. So there is no need to put full stops at the end of your sentence. You'll save on some tokens. Okay. So this is very easy to fill up the context. And when you're talking about a huge library of things, it's impossible to do, in other words. Right? So how do you deal with that? So this is where something called RAG comes into the picture. And what we do is we have a data store of all sorts of information. So this here, the example they have taken is of a tourist site. Say you're running a tourism organization, and you've got like reviews of various cities and things of that sort, all in a big file. And then the next thing you do is you want to find out, this is where embeddings will become useful. You want to find out words that will be similar to something that's involved in these things over here. Okay, so here the example they used is they want to find words that are like history, for example. How close is the word history to any of these things in your database? How close is the word nightlife to any of these things in your database? How close is the word relaxation to any of these words in the database? Because if you think about it, that's what GPT does, right? On a large scale. It looks at the sentences you've typed, and then what it does is it takes those sentences and finds a similarity between those words you typed and the data that it's sort of stored in its memory. And then it generates a response in with depending on what you provided, right? So this is where we use RAG. So if you want to use LLM locally in your own private cloud or on your own computer, there's a site, okay, you can go to. It's called Hugging Face. And I don't know if you have seen this, but this is one of the best places to go. And what you do is if you click on models, for example, you can get any open source model over here. You can see there are all kinds of open source models that can do all sorts of things: depth estimation, image classification, natural language processing. So any number of things can be done, and you can select any of these models. So say, for example, you want to select NVIDIA's Llama model. So it will tell you all the details of the model, and more importantly, it will give you the what the requirements of the model are. So normally, where do they put it? It's been a little while since I looked at this. I think it's on the right side. Typically, they write what the RAM requirements are and things of that sort. So 70 billion parameters, which is very, very large. Usually they have requirements. Let me search controller. Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Usage. So here you can see this model you can't really use. Okay. It's too big, right? Under 50 GB and of disk space, and you got to use like the A100 GPUs, which normal people won't have access to. But you can get much smaller models than that, okay, which are called mini models or whatever, and you can try them out on your own system. And so that's what they've done here. Okay. That's what they've done here. They've chosen this model because it's not too big and it does the job adequately. Okay, they get the model and they encode the words that they want to use in the model, and they get back the. So, for example, you can see they are getting what the vector value of history is, and then what they do, they run it against the data set that they have to find the rows that are similar. So, if you look at this data back here, so if say, for example, Sweden was similar with history, it will create a ranking, okay, based on similarity, and it will give you a list of rows based on the encoding that you have locally done, not on OpenAI side. Okay, and then once you get that back, okay, so here they printed the top 3 rows that as the most similar to history. So this is where they've used the embeddings. They found these rows, and then they send this information as your context video to be then sent to a GPT. So I say, okay, if a tourist is interested in this sort of thing, then the prompt is briefly suggest where I should go and why. Okay, and so once you have given that sort of trained aspect of it to the LLM, then it's able to work on a much smaller subset, which you have already pre-processed because of your library, and then get some suggestion out of it. So this construct is called RAG, or retrieval augmented generation. So that's the process. You run the embeddings, use the power of LLM's embeddings, find similarities with your data set, and then produce the results that give you the closest match, and then use that to do further processing. So that's the workflow of it. Is that okay? They're not likely to ask you deep questions about this, and I don't think, I highly doubt it, they will ask questions about RAG and ROE anyway. But at least you should be aware of what it is, and it is something that is very important when you come to actually working in the data science field. So this RAG thing, almost every department I've seen here on campus are working with this mode of doing things, whether it's chemistry or brain research or you name it. They're all working with these sorts of things. They're using RAG in their LLM development. So, for example, how many of you know that IITM has opened a campus in Zanzibar? Is it Zanzibar? No, Tanzania, sorry. Okay. So they've opened a campus there, but the issue is you've got these subjects that they want to teach, right? But most of the students, their English is not very good. Their main language is Swahili there. So how do you deal with that issue, right? So there's this huge body of work, research, and things like that that students would like to access, but they can't access it in their native language. So one of the things that they're working on, the chemistry department that I know, is they're working on using these sorts of things. They're using RAG to sort of deal with their library of work that they have, and then use LLMs to help them translate it into Swahili. And then this is an example of where they can then give the students access to an agent, an LLM agent, that has access to the library of work, and still be able to communicate and help students learn the subject using their own native language. So this is a very, very important field, RAG. So although in TDS we don't use it extensively, we are just introducing you to the tool. I would say for your future career progression, it's a very important thing to learn. Okay, so learn this workflow. This notebook is very good notebook. Take the time to understand what it's showing you and how it works. And if you've got any questions, post it in discourse, or you can ask us, not today specifically because it's already 9:11. But at some point, if you've got any questions, I'll try and answer them for you. But it's generally it's self-explanatory because it's neatly organized. So it's easy to understand what's going on. But this is where embeddings become useful. Okay. So, before it looks like embeddings was not that useful, but this is the real power of embeddings, being able to find similarity within your own database and then using that to actually do some useful work. Any questions so far?
So this RAG can be used to do some kind of sentiment analysis kind of things, is it?
It's not so much sentiment analysis. It's see, when you're asking questions, right? You're using some words. Those words have similarity to the subject that you're dealing with. Okay, so the embeddings is to try and find the similarity of your words to the library that you have. So if you've got a whole library of work and you want to find, so say for example, what field are you working in?
Okay.
What field are you working in?
I'm working in healthcare side.
Okay, so that's a good example, right? So healthcare. So let's say you want to find, so you've got a whole library of medical books, say, and you want to find, say, books that deal with the connection between certain environmental toxins, like say arsenic, magnesium, and you want to know what its effects are on, say, children's growth or something, right? So you put those words, arsenic, toxicity, magnesium, and you put pediatrics or children, you put these words, okay? Only these few words you put together, and then you give it access to your whole library, okay? Which you can't send to an LLM, but you can process it locally, right? You download the model from suitable model from any old, and you can do this on any computer, by the way, even your own home computer or something you can do, but just you have to find a model that's suitable. And there is a way to filter out these models based on size and things of that sort. I wish I had it ready here, but I don't. But basically, you go through them and you will find it. So models that are very, so this is a small model, 350, 350 parameters. And let's see here, usage. More details. Okay. There was a good place to find that information where it shows it well. But you find a model that works for you, and then once you find that model, you can then run those similar words against your database. It will give you some output, and then you can use that output to then have an LLM answer questions about the issue that you're trying to get answer to. I hope that makes sense, what I just said.
Okay, so it's basically like we should have some set of library here in this case, like to
Yes, yes,
if say if I want to categorize certain things,
yes.
if some input is coming, if I want to categorize what type of category this is, and also then basically we should have a library which will tell these categories there, so that after this. I mean, with these embeddings and similarities, then that will model will determine which category this new input may belong to.
Yes, yeah.
Oh,
So yeah, so that's kind of, you're kind of getting the idea. So that's how it works.
okay.
What I would suggest, like I said, is try some of this out. Use things that you will find useful in your context. You know, get some data, put it into some arrays. Use this as a launching point to try it out, because this won't cost you any money, right? Why it won't cost you any money? Because you're doing it locally on your computer.
Okay, okay.
So, or in this case, you can do it on Google Colab. So you download the model, you run it, and use small models to begin with. Okay, so you get a feel for how it works. Then once you get good at using it, once you understand what's happening and how it works, then you are able to, you know, go to bigger and better things. So in the beginning, just try some small models and try to follow this workflow, and then see, you know, how it works. So that's
Okay, so to run this here, I mean, you mean I don't need that API key also, is
yeah,
it?
you don't. Yeah, the only time you need the API key, only time you need the API key is once you want to send that context to the OpenAI to do some GPT work on.
Uh-huh.
But until then, the prior part of it, which is finding words that match the things in your data set, right? It's because it's not, see, remember, when I say nightlife, right, you're not looking for the word nightlife. It's not
Okay.
like a database search, right? That is the key difference. If it was just a database search, you won't need a model, right?
All
What
right.
you're trying to find is, is this word nightlife? what is it similar to in my database?
In terms of meaning or anything.
Yes, in terms of the semantic meaning, you
I mean,
got it exactly right.
okay, okay.
And that is the real power of it, right? Semantic,
Ah,
not the word.
word, okay.
Yeah, because in fact, I don't even know if the word nightlife is in this sentence. Night life. Yeah. So this word is not even there in this reason over here, right? But
Okay.
nevertheless, it chose nightlife and it chose these three places: New York, South Africa, Argentina, because there are words in there that that semantically comes very close to this idea of nightlife.
So how do we validate the response of these models? Like for example, if I have certain library, then I get some input. I want to compare that with the library and then give some similarity. Okay, so now eventually I have to validate that result what it gives, right? So whether it is actually correct or not. So is there any tool or anything where it does the validation part also?
That's a good question to ask Anand sir, actually, because I don't know the answer to that. How would you do validation on something like that? I mean, for me, in my mind, the reasoning would be is you look at what it generates on a small set of things, right? And see the answers you're getting, are they reasonable? Do they sound like something reasonable? Is the response it's giving you in terms of closeness of your words? See, here they've only given nightlife, right? But you can put a set of words. You don't have to put just nightlife. You can put several keywords, just like you did in the embeddings part, right? If you looked at the embeddings, oh, I closed the file, I think. If you look at the embedding section, where is it? Extraction, implement, model. If you look at this over here, so here, I think towards the bottom, they put several words in together, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then they found, so for example, fruit with all these things, country
Correct.
with
Yeah.
all these things.
Yeah.
So that's the idea behind it, right? So in the same way, instead of giving one word, you would give a list of words, that you're trying to find how close that is, and then asking you to generate some results for you that semantically come close to all these things.
Oh,
And then you sort of validate, okay, I think this is a reasonable model in terms of its what it's giving to you. And then you send it the context when you send that small. So here what he does is he sends these three rows to the LLM and ask it a question regarding those three rows. But before you send it to them, you have already
yeah.
done this.
Yeah.
You have
Okay.
reduced the
So
context window for it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So the reason why I asked this validation part is like, for example, if we get the similarity and say if the data set is less to start with, like if we see that the result what it gives doesn't really match with our expectation or something, then can that be used to train the model back by making it to update this as a feedback or something? I mean, is that feasible as well?
Um, with
Whether-
embeddings, the embeddings is already a fixed value. You don't change the embeddings. The embeddings is
Okay.
given by the model itself. So this is where, so if you look, I think there was something called leaderboard. If you look at the leaderboards, it tells you which ones are doing well and in what field and things of that sort, right?
Oh,
So you can look at, I think they're called leaderboards. Let's see. And then model rankings. So yeah, so if you look at the things like leaderboards and all, it tells you here what they're good at, and then you choose models that you think will work for you. So they give them scores and based on various parameters and things of that. And you'll have to do a little bit of research with regards to it, but the embeddings are from the model. That doesn't change. In other words, it doesn't learn or anything. The learning only happens on the GPT part of it.
Okay. So even in one of the session that we had, right? For example, there was a movie generic kind of topic was there, right? In the recording videos that we have, uh,
Yeah, I
where we
think,
find
is it
so
week 6?
a week. No, I think it's week 4 or 5. I
Ah, week
think.
5. Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
Yeah, the vision
yeah.
analysis, I think. Yeah. Yeah, this, right? It
No,
was, no, this was images, I think.
no, this was images. I think there is a
Yeah.
movie, kind of like where we find that
Sentiment
what kind of
analysis, I think you're talking about.
You're talking about probably, I think it's this
Sentiment
one, right?
I think
analysis.
sentiment analysis is talking about.
Oh, sentiment analysis. Oh, I thought when you were talking about movies, okay.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
on this similar kind of scenario as well, like I mean, now if our library is that kind of text where in sentiment analysis of this movie also, I mean,
Mhm. Yeah,
we
you can give
provide
it feedback and then it
feedback.
will, yeah. So
Yeah.
that will work if you have downloaded a GPT type model into your system and you're able to run the GPT on your system. Then you can definitely do that with, so I've done that myself where I've downloaded a GPT type model, not just for its embeddings, but to actually do the GPT type things where you actually key in information to it and you send it to it. And then it gives you a response that you're able to train. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
But the,
So, I mean, for this that augmented thing, what we saw now, so can that be used for similar kind of scenario like what we are doing in sentiment analysis, like
yeah,
here,
so it would
like
be a two-stage process, right? So the first stage of the process is you do the
library?
embedding similarity, you do the library, find the embedding similarity, then you send that reduced context
Ah,
to the GPT that you're either hosting locally or you're using online, and
ah,
then
okay.
deal with it that way. So,
Okay. Got it. Yeah. Thank you.
okay. Again, I'm not an expert on this. Okay, I'm also quite new to this, so it's something that I think we both are learning in that sense, right? So, but some of your questions are good. If you can put it on discourse, what you asked specifically about, then you can ask Anand to probably give you some resource, or he may be able to respond more meaningfully to the question and maybe give you a better answer than I have given.
Sure. Yeah, I'll try it out a bit more thing on this, and then
Yes.
I'll definitely post that
Yes.
question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on retrieval augmented generation? The main thing is you're reducing the context by downloading the LLM locally, not LLM, sorry, the embeddings locally, and then running the similarity search on your own library rather than sending the whole of your library to a LLM. And that's what's called retrieval augmented generation. Okay, there is no questions regarding that. So this was also interesting, but this is a fairly simple use case. So LLM vision models. This notebook is very straightforward to use. You just send it an image and ask a question. I'm not going to explain this construction because I've already done that in a previous session. But I wanted to give you some more useful information about why this is more significant than what this actually shows you. So I'll let you in on a little secret, okay? So you've heard this for the first time only on TDS session, and you will not hear it anywhere else. So what are videos? Can someone tell me in terms of uh, thinking about what vision models are? What are videos effectively?
Multiple data frames, not data frame, picture frames uh,
Correct.
shown rapidly.
That's
Data.
right. So here's the interesting thing about it, right? If you can get an LLM to look at a single picture and give you some information on it. It can also give you information when you send it several pictures. Okay. So recently, okay, I was on a call and I saw some of the people who were talking on the call, and they were discussing OPPs. Okay, and the question is, how do we improve our OPPs? And one of the things that were being tested and trialed in real time was we send the video feed of the OPP. When I say video feed, I'm talking about keyframes. You send in keyframes of the OPP to a GPT, and then what the GPT does is it analyzes the student's behavior. Okay, and it's given all the information: the video frames, the key presses, and the the GPT is asked to analyze it. Okay, and what they're looking for is behavior. So a person who's cheating, their behavior is very different from a person who's not cheating. There doesn't have to be physical evidence to know the pattern difference. So to give you an example in that sense, if someone was cheating in an OPP, right, and they wanted to do the work, think about how a normal student would do it, right? A normal student would look at a question, he would go scroll down, type some code in, then scroll back up to look at the question, then scroll back down. That's usually how you would do it, right? Because that's normal behavior. Because you're thinking through the question, you're trying to analyze the question, trying to answer the question. But someone who's cheating has a completely different behavior pattern that a human might not be able to pick up, but a computer is very easily able to pick up that pattern. And so they were trialing out using a GPT system to intelligently learn the pattern of what normal behavior is and learn the pattern of abnormal behavior. And so what they can then do is, for OPP, they can send these feeds and have it flag for them which ones are erroneous, which ones are outliers, and then be able to make a more robust OPP system. You see, so that's one small use case of LLM vision systems. And this is just a small example. Some of the things that they were showing was really mind-blowing, that was demonstrated. So there was a guy who was working on some machinery, and they just asked the LLM, what is this guy doing? And so it describes what the guy is doing, the tool he's using, and so many other things it's able to describe. And this is one small example how you can think of so many use cases, of vision processing of an LLM using API calls, which is something that you can't normally get otherwise. I hope that was illuminating, right?
Yes, it was quite interesting.
Yeah. So it's more than just describing an image, okay? So you can think of lot of things, lot of use cases for these things. Right, so that's vision models. So this was very simple, so I'm not going to go through the code, right? It's very, very straightforward. But when you construct complex applications, you can create wonderful things with it.
Do we have any models where it will run locally for these vision models as well? Like,
Yeah. Hugging Face, this is the best place to go. If you go Hugging Face, you will find all kinds of models. You just need to have the right kind of machine for them. Some will be more easier to run than others. So
okay.
if you look here, there's computer vision models, there is image text to text, there is document question answering, video text to text, all kinds of modeling, image to video. So you type in, so you get text to image, you get even text to video also, I think. Basically, you type in some text and it'll create a video.
Oh, okay.
Text classification, all these things, text to speech.
Okay.
Loads of different models. Only thing is, the only limitation is your machine, whether it can run it in a fast enough time, all that sort of thing. And the big requirement is the more powerful the model, the more bigger, the more amount of RAM you need. and the bigger the model, usually the more powerful a GPU you need. So those are usually the limiting factors. But that does not mean it won't run on your machine. It just means it will take terribly long to run some types of models. But having said that, there are some minified models or optimized models. What they've done is they've taken a big, powerful model and they have made it smaller, but without reducing too much of its capabilities. So, for example, if you have GPT-4, GPT-4o is a minified version of it. So, like that, they have minified versions of powerful models which you might be able to run on your machine. Okay, but Hugging Face, you get the models, and then the other thing you need is I think it's called. Let me see.
And all these models are free, is it? I mean, free to use.
Yes,
No,
yes,
no sign up or.
correct. These are all open source models. Most of them are, yeah. In fact, all those listed on there, I think, are free to use. I'm trying to remember. There is, I think it's called LLM Studio. So you need this pack. If you use this package, right, you can then run your model. Like, say, for example, if you, let's say, for argument's sake, OpenAI allows you to download their model to use on your local machine. You can download the model and you can run GPT locally on your computer. In other words, it's not going outside your computer. So no token costs. Okay. So you can send how many ever tokens you want, you can send, because it's all being processed on your personal computer. If you use this software, okay, LM Studio, and there's instructions on how to use it and everything. And you can run LLMs. You can run, I think you can even run like image generation software and all sorts of things you can do. So really great stuff. This you would use in conjunction with the models. These are the software that will help you run it. Okay.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Let's see. So the next thing we talked about RAG, topic modeling, vision models. Yeah. So we've covered everything for week 5 basically. Any questions so far? Okay. Week 6 is very, most of it is fairly straightforward in the beginning part. Have you watched this video about geospatial analysis with Excel?
Not me.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I was there. I said not me at least. I don't know about others.
Okay. I mean, this is a really good video to demonstrate some amazing Excel capabilities that I never thought was possible with Excel. Okay. Will they ask you questions about this in the exam? Very unlikely, because not everybody has a full version of Excel. But it was meant to show you that even the humble Excel can do some pretty amazing data modeling. And geospatial analysis with GeoPandas. I will not start this today because there's not that much time. Then QGIS, you will have to know about QGIS. It's a free package software. You download and you use it. But this link here, this link doesn't work. Okay. So instead of this link, you'll have to use this one, gadm.org. I'll just paste it in the window for you here. But you'll have to get shapefile data from here, okay? Because this link doesn't work. And then once you come to GADM, what you do is you go to this link called data instead of maps. Then you say by country. And then you select whichever country you want to select. So you click on this shapefile. And then it gets you the shapefile. And that shapefile you can use in this software called QGIS. Okay. Give it a try. Watch the video. and maybe I might briefly demonstrate how you load the file on there and look at things, but it's very straightforward if you just follow this video. Okay. The things we are expecting you to learn in this is not all the functionality of it, but just the basic things that he describes to you in QGIS, what it's for, what common types of filtering you might be able to do. Only that sort of question they may ask. Okay, we don't expect you to become an expert in QGIS, but to know what it is and how you use it. What are shape files? You know, that's sort of kind of questions they may ask. Okay. Geospatial analysis. Okay. Network analysis is an important topic, but like I said, it's a bit too late to start looking at it now. So these things we will do next time. In fact, I'll do it after ROE, okay? Because ROE is the next important thing that's coming up. But this is what week 6 is. When I'm demonstrating QGIS, make sure you've already downloaded the software. If you try and download it while we are doing it, it's a very big, it's kind of a big package. So it downloads very slowly. So if you try to do it while you're in the session, then it's going to take forever. Okay. All right. I think.
So there are in this geospatial thing. There were a lot of scripts that were written or mentioned in that reference links. So I mean, we have to prepare all these. The first one. Yeah, those
These.
shape merging. Yeah, right. Yeah. So,
Okay. Yeah. So these were just to demonstrate how this was made.
Okay.
How they process this. So that's what these links are for. If you want to
Right.
understand the process of doing it. So it's really worth going through in the sense, not from an exam point of view, but in trying to understand how they actually managed to do it.
Okay. Okay.
In fact, it's so nice that one of the students last term, details that is shown on this blog, it's Anand's blog basically, and of his company Gramener, and he was so inspired by it. What he did is he decided to do a similar thing where he took the city of Bangalore, okay, got the shapefile data for it, created the. I don't know if some of you are doing MLT this term, but he created the Voronoi regions for it, and then compared the performance of Pizza Hut versus Domino's, and he did it for the city of Bangalore, and it's something very similar to this he did, and it was very beautiful and really well done. And something like that, that's a really practical project that he can take to someone and say, look, I've done this analysis, this is something I'm able to do, so for example, it could be a car dealership, right? They want to know where is the best place to put a car dealership or something like that. It's a very not simple, but it's a very practical skill to be able to demonstrate that you can do this. Not everybody can do this, right? So people can make Excel charts and Excel sheets, but to do a visualization like this is very impactful, powerful, and communicates important things that some simple spreadsheets won't be able to. So that's the value from this. It's not that they will ask you questions in the exam from this, but knowing how it was constructed, and if you can understand that process, then that will help you make your own visualizations in a similar fashion.
Okay, got it. Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any other questions?
May I ask one more question on the previous one, what we discussed about the LLMs?
Okay.
I tried to just quickly run one of the model from the Hugging Face. So it asks for a HF token, Hugging Face token, I think. So looks like, I mean, I tried to run it in Colab. So
Okay.
looks like, I think, I'm not sure if you have to sign up and then do some authentication or something.
Might be. It depends on what the model is. Okay, you'll have to look up the document because it's all different companies have different ways of doing it.
Okay.
So but you can use the embeddings. You can import the embeddings directly. And that's what they've done here. So if you look, on any of these notebooks, down here. If you look at any of these notebooks, they use the embeddings only. Whereas running the model itself, you'd have to use the software. Did you download LM Studio?
No, not yet, not yet.
Okay. So what you typically do is you download the model and you load it into LM Studio, and then you can run the model. Then you
Okay.
don't need a key to. Well, I'm not sure.
Access.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
But maybe I think not all the models are free in Kingfish. I think. I mean, it may be
might
free.
not be. Yeah.
It may be free, but I think we may have to authenticate or something. I believe so.
Possible. Yeah. Just read through the documentation. I know
Sure.
I tried one or two of them previously, but through LM Studio. Whereas as far as loading these are concerned, right? So here where he has loaded, where is it?
Okay.
Not this one up here. There's no token going here. This is local.
Okay.
I mean, I know it's on Google Colab, but even if you put it in VS Studio and run it, it's not going to ask you for a token, because all it's doing is it's taking this model and then it's running it locally on your machine.
And that model is something you have downloaded somewhere locally, or is it accessing that?
So first, what they do is they run this pip install sentence transformers, and then it retrieves
Okay,
this
transformer
model.
model.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And if you look on here to authenticate, okay, yeah, even here also it says the same.
Yeah, it's like a text to image kind of a model. So
Yeah, but see, it says here it's still optional for public models. So if the model is public, then you don't need the token. But if the model is not public, then you will need a token.
Token. Okay, got it.
Okay, so it depends on the model that you're getting. Okay. Questions? Well, we can wrap up this session today. Hope this session was useful, that you've learned something new. Was it helpful, or you guys already knew all these things? Or?
It was helpful.
Because it's good to get feedback. Otherwise, I don't know, if there are things we need to do differently or change. And one more thing was going to mention, as we get closer towards the end term, we will release an anonymous G form. This is typically not done by the BS program, but I think they should do it for all modules. But we do it here in TDS. So we create a form where you're able to give very sort of detailed feedback on the course. So for TDS specifically, you'll be able to give feedback on myself, the other TA, Jivraj. You'll be able to give feedback on the instructors, feedback on Anand, on the course materials, so that we can help improve the course and we can know where we are going wrong or things that we can change. And based on that feedback is how TDS has continuously changed and improved over time. So what you see today is very different from what was there, say, for example, 3 terms or 4 terms ago. And that's a direct result of feedback that you receive. The professor really is very involved and engaged with the students in that sense, that he wants them to get the best value out of it. So please, when the form comes out, fill it up. Tell if you know friends on your WhatsApp group that are taking TDS, please ask them to also fill it out, and just be honest, because it's completely anonymous. No one knows who sent the response, and you can give it for like I said, to everyone that's there, the professor, the instructor. Feedback is given, and then the information is anonymized, collated, and put into some pie charts effectively. And then whatever textual information you're given, reviews and things of that sort, we read all of them and we then decide, okay, yeah, we need to change this or we need to improve that. Okay, so it's something that we'd appreciate if you do that for us. Okay, I think that's it, right? So any questions?
In total, how many modules we have in TDS? Like, is it 12 modules or
No. It's only a 3-credit course. So I think, just give me a second here. So last term we had 9 modules in total last term.
Okay.
So this term also I suspect it will be the same.
Okay.
Okay. And not all of them will have GAs. GAs will only go up to 7, I think. But don't hold me on that. It depends completely on the professor. So
Yeah, excuse me, Curtin.
let's go ahead, Amit.
Yeah. I am asking about the ROE. The
Okay.
each and every ROE I think have different skills required. So there is no. Then how we will practice for ROE? There is no meaning
Yes.
if I practice the last one, the next one is differently comes, right? The skills
Yeah,
that
that is
will,
true.
there
But
is
some
no
things will
meaning.
remain. Yeah, but there are some things that will remain the same, which is almost every ROE requires you to know HTML scripting. Almost every ROE requires you to know CSS selectors. Every ROE requires you to know how to scrape from PDFs. Well, not every, but some of them do. So these basic skill sets are common to all ROEs, right? So in that sense, there are a list of skill sets, as someone earlier pointed out. Checkbox marking is there, right? Where we'll say, okay, you need this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill. You don't need this skill. You don't need. You need this skill, like that. So that is some of the things we'll go over. What you will require for the upcoming ROE, right? So we'll go through a set of skills that we think will be useful to you in order to do the ROE. With regards to SQL, that's almost generally going to be there. One thing that will be new this term that was never there in previous terms is LLMs are definitely going to be there this ROE, right? So that's something new. So you can expect that to be there. Has there been an ROE before with an LLM? No. When I say LLM, I'm talking about perhaps using the API call to do some useful processing. So what I would suggest to you is, I'd done a session last week. If you look at that session, I'd broken down how do you send an API call to an LLM very neatly there for you, right? If you create something like that for yourself, you will have that ready for ROE, right? So then all you do is plug and play it, basically, effectively. So another thing I would suggest you to do is go to the OpenAI documentation. If you go here to their API documentation, have a look at some of the basic things, like what is the way they construct certain types of things, right? So you can use the model to do various things. How they do, I mean, I don't think they will ask you about image generation and all, but with text generation and all, they will ask you how to do different things, right? So it tells you how to build prompts, system messages. Just go through this documentation and maybe capture some snippets, try out some examples, and you should be able to then, if you keep those things, that reminds me of something I wanted to show you guys. This is very, very cool. So here's an example. Remember I was telling about function calling, right? I think last time I was telling you about function calling. And so here is an example of it in GPT rather than through the API call. But you can do something similar in the API call, okay, where you name a function. So I gave it a prompt and I said, I don't know if you guys can see this. Okay. So I gave it a prompt. I said, I do not want any code. I want you to remember a function called reverse that reverses a string. So it said, okay, understood. I'll remember the function reverse. Then I said, okay, reverse card. Okay. So it reversed it. So this is a very cool capability actually, if you think about it. Without writing any code, you give it some function and it just does it, right? But this is not the cool part. This is one of the cool parts. The incredible power is I gave it another function called upper. Okay, converts all characters to uppercase. Okay, and it converts upper and gives you reward. Okay, so far so good. But here is the really incredible thing, and why we call this function calling. Now, what happens when I use both of these together, right? So I said reverse upper reward, right? This is now complicated. I mean, to you and me, it's not, but to an LLM, this is actually very, very complicated, right? And that's exactly the response it gave us. It was able to understand that there are two functions. There was a function within a function, and it was understood. Yeah, I need to make this capitalized and then reverse it, and it gave me this result. This is the power of function calling within LLMs, you know, and you can do that using an API rather than using this, of course. But yeah, I hope that was as cool for you as it was for me.
Indeed, it was.
Yeah, without writing any code, right? That's the total mind blowing part of it. Yeah. Okay. Right. Did that answer your question, by the way? Was it Amit? I think he was asking the question.
Yeah, Amit, right.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
One more thing, Golden, like what that link you have pinned in that our message box, na?
Yes.
That gives ROE for the last year only, right?
I personally did not look at the ROE,
I
but
have seen that. It contains only the last year thing. Do you have anything for this last year, previous year, or maybe earlier to that?
I'll check with Prasanna and see, because he will have all those things, because he's the instructor, so he will have. Because typically, that's another thing, right? Typically, we don't release these things. So we
Okay.
spoke to Anand, and he gave the go ahead. So because of that, you have access actually.
Okay.
So I'll check with Prasanna and see.
Fine.
Okay. In fact, you can, like I said, though, I think I told someone else also, just reply to this post itself. Tag Prasanna, reply to this post and say, can you give me another set, you know, because this is, so there are several ROEs that we have done, right? So you can ask him for the other ones.
Right.
So like he's asked for the one where there was a water quality one. So yeah, just tag him and ask him for it. Okay. That will be the best rather than me telling them.
Fine.
I don't know. Okay. Right. Shall we call it a night?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Carlton,
guys. Yeah, sorry.
just reminder about that grading criteria update in the grading document.
Yes, good
Yeah.
point. Earlier I was trying to make a note of it and my pen was not working.
Right.
Reading document. Just give me a second here. Okay, great. Thank you. All right, guys. See you sometime this week, hopefully, and it'll be almost certainly an ROE prep session. Okay, we'll send you an email out also, and there may be more than one. It might likely be like 2 sessions at least, I think, and we'll go over all the basic skills, the prep that you need to do in order to be able to do well in ROE. Okay.
That would be a great help.
Okay, but we might not be doing an ROE practice itself, right? But I
That's
will go
fine.
through this. I'll give you an overview of all the skills. Okay. All right, guys. Good night. Thank you.
Good night. Thank you,
Good
Carlton.
night. Good night.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much. Good night.
Yeah, thank you.